Let's move on to the biomes. What is a terrestrial biome? Terrestrial biomes occur on land. Do we classify a terrestrial biome? They are normally classified according to their vegetation, their climate, as well as their location. And there can be many different types. Aquatic biomes characterize ecosystems in water, and water covers a major portion of the Earth's surface. So aquatic biomes contain a rich diversity of plants and animals. Aquatic biomes can be subdivided into two types. We get freshwater biomes and the marine biome. A freshwater biome has a very low concentration of salt, usually less than 1%, and occurs in several types of regions. For example, ponds and lakes, streams, rivers, and wetlands. But the marine regions cover nearly 3/4 of the Earth's surface. Now, oceans, children, are very large marine bodies, and they dominate the Earth's surface, and they hold the largest ecosystems. They contain such a rich variety of living organisms, okay? Estuaries. What are estuaries? Now, estuaries are partially enclosed areas, okay, where the fresh water and the silt from the streams or the rivers usually mix with the salty ocean water. Now, they represent a transition, children, a transition, a change from a land to sea and from fresh water to salt water. Remember, estuaries are biologically very productive areas, and they provide homes for a wide variety of plants, birds, and animals. Let's move on to the terrestrial biomes of South Africa. How many biomes do you think South Africa has? Yes, South Africa is divided into 7 terrestrial biomes. Okay? And within each of these biomes, there are different habitats. Now, the species have various adaptations to their particular biomes. Any organism found in a particular biome has the ability to survive in it because he is structurally adapted in order to survive in his particular biome. Now, we must remember, children, that each kind of biome faces threats to its existence. Why? Because of our irresponsible behavior, because of human behavior. Let's move on. Inside any biome, the plant and animal species there are adapted to the climate of their ecosystem, and therefore they are able to survive in it. Let's name the 7 biomes in South Africa. We have the savanna, the namakuru, the succulent Kero, fynbos, forest, grassland, and thicket. Let's begin with the largest biome in Southern Africa. Yes, it's the Savannah Biome. Where do we find the Savannah Biome? Where about in Southern Africa? Well, it is found mainly in Mpumalanga and the Limpopo provinces. But we will also be able to find it in the coastal belt of KwaZulu-Natal as well as the Eastern Cape. Now, the summers in a savanna biome are hot and wet, but the winters are cool with very little or no rain at all. Now, this biome is also known as the bushveld. Why? Because it's an area where the grasses are mainly found and regular fires prevent the trees from dominating. If If we look at the savanna soil, we'll notice that the soil is largely sandy, right? With just a moderate amount of nutrients, making this soil here not very fertile. The nutrients in the soil are found near the surface as they come from decayed organic matter, the dead vegetation, right, from the previous growing season. And this organic matter, this dead vegetation, decays very rapidly because of the high temperatures experienced in this biome. Examples of animals found in this biome would be hornbills and flycatchers. And then we have large game like the lion, leopard, elephant, hippo, zebra, etc. What is this biome used for? Well, it is used for the grazing of animals such as cattle and game, as well as for tourism and big game hunting. The next biome is the grassland biome. By looking at the picture, you will be able to understand why they have chosen such a name for this biome. Yes, it's because this area is dominated by grasses. Okay? Now the grasslands cover regions where moderate rainfall is sufficient for the growing of the grasses, but not enough for stands of trees. Now there are two main types of grasslands. We get the tropical grasslands, known as the savannas, as well as the temperate grasslands. If we look at the soil present in the grasslands, we will notice that it is very sandy soil, right? But this sandy soil contains a high humus content. What is humus? Well, humus is very dark organic material, children, that forms in soil when the plant and the animal matter decays. But in the high rainfall areas, the soil is easily leached and becomes acidic. What does leached mean? The leaching is the loss of the plant's nutrients from the soil. And when this happens, you'll find that the soil becomes very acidic. The type of animals found here will be the large grazers, wildebeest, blesbok, and eland. Now there's also plenty of birds as well in the grassland biome. We will come across the blue crane, guinea fowl amongst others. Okay? Now what are the uses and the threats of the grassland biome? Well, in summer it's so hot that felt fires become a problem. And in winter it's so cold that you find that this area has a lot of frost. Now these two conditions prevent the growing of trees. Maize, dairy, beef and wool are produced here as well, and it's a very important biome for tourism. We are now looking at the namakuru. The namakuru is the second largest biome in South Africa. It forms part of the Northern Cape province, okay? But it is regarded as a semi-desert area, receiving very, very little rain. Now the summers here are very hot and the winters are very cold. Dominant vegetation type in the namakuru is the grasses. If we take a look at the soil present in the namakuru, we will be surprised to find that it is rich in nutrients. It's rich in lime and forms a thin layer over rocks. Okay? Now, lime present in soil, children, contains calcium carbonate, okay? As well as magnesium carbonate, right? And if these compounds are in the soil, they work to increase the soil's pH, making our soil now less acidic and more alkaline. This area is ideal for sheep and goats, as well as the bat-eared fox, jackal, ostrich and the spring hare. Now, some of the uses and threats. Overgrazing becomes a major problem, okay? And this results in a shortage of grass eventually. Mining is important in this area, but there is very little tourism here. Let's look at the succulent Kero biome. Quite a beautiful picture, don't you think? If you look at this biome, you will immediately know what it's famous for. Yes, for its beautiful, colorful wild flowers. Right? Now the succulent Kero biome, where can we find it? It's in the west coast of the Northern Cape as well as the northern parts of the Western Cape. This biome is hot in summer and cold in winter, although the rainfall in this area is very, very low. 40% of the plant species found here are endemic to this biome. What does it mean to be endemic? What are endemic plants? Well, endemic plants are special, children, because they are found only in one location on the planet and nowhere else. For example, this plant is endemic to the succulent Kero biome. We will not find it growing in any other biome. It is the Namakuru region of this biome that's famous for these beautiful, colorful wildflowers. If you notice, you will see that they have succulents as well, right? Now, succulent plants have very fleshy, juicy leaves that are able to store water. Now, succulent plants are able to live through dry seasons by using this water that they are storing in their leaves or in their stems. If we visit the succulent Kero, we will notice that the soil is a very fertile red clay with rocks in between. If I visit the succulent Kero, I will expect to find livestock such as ostriches, goats, and sheep. The soil is rich in lime, making it as well as biome has the greatest number of plant species for any semi-arid area. Semi-arid means that this area receives very little precipitation. In other words, very little rainfall throughout the year. Let's look at the forest biome. The forest biome in South Africa occurs in patches, right? In patches in areas such as Knysna of the Western Cape, as well as KwaZulu-Natal, the Eastern Cape, Limpopo, and Mpumalanga. Some of these forests experience rain only in winter, while others get rainfall throughout the year. Now, forests are dominated by trees. As you see in our picture, they are dominated by giant trees. They are dominated by giant trees, of which the yellowwood is the largest. Right? Now, there are many herbaceous and bulbous plants that also occur here. Ferns and mosses are also very common to this area. In the forest biome, we will expect to find a thick layer of soil, okay? Although the soil might be shallow here and there in certain parts. But the soil in the forest biome is mixed with falling leaves, fruit, and the droppings of birds and mammals. So therefore, the soil here is very rich enough to support the tall trees, the shrubs, the climbing plants, as well as all the ferns. Animals we will expect to find in the forest biome will be many types of birds like the Knysna lory, as well as small animals like the bush pig, bush buck, and blue duiker. We also find large predators in the forest biome, such as leopards as well as crowned eagles. It attracts a lot of tourists. The fynbos grows in a coastal belt stretching from Clan William on the west coast to Port Elizabeth on the southeast coast. The fynbos in the western regions is richer and more varied than in the eastern regions of South Africa. The vegetation here is characterized by evergreen plants with small hard leaves. We find the proteas as well in this biome, okay, as well as lots of grasses or reeds. The type of soil we expect to find in the fynbos is very sandy. It's also very acidic and not very fertile because of the leaching of nutrients again. Now the Boss biome cannot support big game, but they do have small herbivores, as well as birds, reptiles, mammals, frogs, and insects. In the mountains, you will find leopards, baboon, as well as eagles. This biome is very sensitive to veld fires. They experience it a lot. And when do they experience it? It's very common during summer. And the final biome we find is the thicket biome. The thicket biome occurs along the coast of KwaZulu-Natal as well as the Eastern Cape. Now, most thickets occur in river valleys. Okay? Thickets develop in areas where the rainfall is fairly high. However, there may be dry periods that prevent the vegetation from developing into forests. The vegetation of this biome includes short trees, low intertwining shrubs, and the thicket is slightly different from the forest biome because you will find that there's no distinct layers of trees and shrubs with many large open spaces as we see in the forest biome. What type of soil would we expect to find in the thicket biome? Well, the thicket biome has a thick layer of soil, and this soil is mixed with fruit and the droppings of birds and mammals. The soil is therefore rich enough to support the woody vegetation that we find in this thicket biome. Now, the animals we will expect to find in the thicket biome will be the African elephant, kudu, vervet monkey, as well as the bushbuck. This area does face a lot of threat, unfortunately, because there's a lot of drought experienced here as well as flooding. What have we learned? We have learned that South Africa is divided into those 7 terrestrial biomes, okay? But now I have a little bit of a surprise for you. Now, did you know that South Africa also includes another biome? Yes, it does, and it is called the desert biome. Now, children, some scientists will consider the succulent Kero biome or even the namakuru biome and even the very dry parts of the Savannah biome as being parts of the desert biome. But what I'm going to do is that I'm going to take the desert biome as being a very distinct biome, separate from the 7 that we have learnt, okay? An example of the desert biome in southern Africa would be the Namib Desert. If we visit the Namib Desert, what sort of climate would we experience? Well, the temperature there at the Namib Desert is above 30 degrees regularly, and the rainfall there is very low and very unpredictable, so they are not receiving much rain. Okay? Now, this combination of low rainfall and high temperatures keeps the air very, very dry. It means that evaporation is taking place at a very, very high rate. Now, the soil there is very sandy with very little ability to retain its water. What sort of plant life exists in this desert biome? Well, large parts of the Namib Desert have no visible plant life, right? But they carry seeds, especially of grasses. When there is sufficient rainfall, then what happens is that these seeds start to germinate. They start to grow into grasses very, very quickly. Is that suddenly we find an explosion of grasses appearing, okay? Some shrubs, such as the welwitschia plant, may also grow in these areas, okay? We also find a few trees like the African moringa, camel thorn, mustard seeds, okay? Now let's look at the animals. The animal life in a desert biome will include a large number of reptiles, right? Including lizards, geckos, and snakes. Many of these are endemic, meaning it is found only in this biome and in no other biome. The desert biome also has a large number of species of beetles. Well, in this biome, right, all of the life forms here have to experience some sort of problem. Yes, the life forms here in this biome have to cope with basic problems, not knowing when the next rain is going to come, right? They also have to cope with how to obtain as much water as possible and how to reduce the amount of water being lost by evaporation. Let's recap. What have we learned today? Areas on Earth that have different climatic conditions, and therefore they are going to have different types of vegetation there and different types of animals living there that are adapted to live there. Okay? Any area with a particular climate, together with all the living organisms occurring in the area, is called a biome. We have learnt that there are two major types of biomes, one being the terrestrial or the land biome, and the other being the aquatic or the water biome. We have also learnt that the terrestrial biomes in South Africa are divided into 7. 1. The Savannah Biome. 2. Namakuru. 3. Succulent Kero. 4. Fynbos. 5. Forest. 6. Grassland. 7. Thicket. And we have learned about the desert biome. I hope you enjoyed the lesson today.